Okay. Well, Russell, thank you so much for meeting with us today. We're super happy that you could be here. Um, we understand that there's kind of a lot of things that are going on, but we're here to help and answer any questions you have and all that stuff. But we just wanted to get to know you a little bit. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to do. We won't really quite get into what's going on and the whole reason for you being here quite yet. But we just want to get to know you and gauge the situation a little bit. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I am 26. I, geez, what is there to even say? I live in Sandy. I am currently unemployed. I don't have a job, so I don't do much most days. Kind of just sit at home, um, in the dark in my room. I live with my parents. I enjoy spending time with my friends. Well, I used to at least. I don't do much anymore. Um, I just kind of hang around right now. Just kind of chugging through life. I'm single, not with anybody. I was in a relationship, but I'm not anymore. Um, just moving forward. Been dealing clearly with some stuff. Obviously, that's why I feel like I needed to, after talking to my doctor, meet with someone and get some help because um, when you really look at it, my life's not been as picture perfect as I've always kind of hoped it would be or portrayed it was, and it's getting a little difficult to keep up the idea that my life is perfect, and that adds a lot to my anxiety, um, which is very frustrating, and I want to be able to move on. So yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that's really good. We appreciate you sharing that with us. We're gonna kind of go through and ask you a couple different questions and just trying to get a little bit of a better feel on your situation and what we're dealing with, and hopefully, kind of get started on that path to help you get back to where you were and um, moving on and moving up. Um, Sydney has a couple just verbal, disclosures and agreements that she's gonna give to you, and then she'll kind of take it from there, start asking you a couple questions, and just feel free to answer in whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. Um, like I said at the beginning, we're here to help. We want to make sure that you're going to get the best care available, and so you can get back to doing what you love to do. So we'll turn the
Thank
time
you.
over to
I
Sydney to go
appreciate
through
that.
those. Mhm.
Hi, Russell. I'm Sydney.
Hi, hi,
I
Sydney.
just want to go through some of the verbal disclosures with you really fast. These can be kind of lengthy, but it's important for you to understand what your rights are and as far as things go as your confidentiality. Um, so the first part I want to go through with you is the purpose of a confidentiality. Um, so the purpose of that is to ensure that you're protected and I'm protected, if that makes sense. Um, And then we have the extent of confidentiality, and that's all communication between the client, you, and the counselors, us, which are either verbal or written, will be treated with utmost confidentiality. This includes counseling sessions, notes, reports, and any tests, and we'll keep these stored in a confidential place. The next part of this is limits of confidentiality. So, this part states that when the counselor is committed to maintaining confidentiality, certain circumstances may necessitate the disclosure of information. These situations include when the counselor believes that the client poses a risk to their safety or the safety of others, when the counselor are reasonably suspected of child abuse, elder abuse, or dependent adult abuse, when the counselors are ordered by the court to disclose information. In case where consultation with other professionals is needed, the counselor will only disclose information necessary for the consultation and will avoid disclosing identifying information about you. The fourth part is your rights as a client. So you have a right to privacy and to understand the steps taken to protect your rights of privacy. We as counselors will maintain secure records of all of our sessions and any related information. And these records will be kept for a certain period of time, and that period of time is just determined by certain laws and regulations in whatever jurisdiction we're in right now. And you, as a client, have a right to request a summary of any of the records that we keep. The fifth part of this is you, as a client, are responsible to protect your privacy outside of any counseling context, which includes things like social media, emailing, texting, those sort of interactions between all of us. And the last part is just an agreement. So, by signing or agreeing, you acknowledge that you understand the terms of this agreement and consent to the guidelines outlined here. You can accept that you can ask questions and this agreement anytime or withdraw your consent with a written notice.
Okay.
Okay, so do you agree to all of those terms that Sydney just listed?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Awesome.
All
So,
right,
to
well,
get started, oh, sorry, what were you going to say, Austin?
nope, exactly what you were going to say, Nicole. You
Okay.
take it away.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have anxiety and that you used to be in a relationship. Would you mind going over that and what happened there?
Yeah, so I was previously dating a guy for about 2 years. We lived together and um, we were always together. We spent so much time together. He was the breadwinner, and we talked about getting married. Really loved him, thought things were going good, but I think he got kind of bored with my constant anxiety. It really centers around like being in public. I get really bad social anxiety. Um, I get really stressed when I'm forced to interact with people, um, and that I, especially the people that I don't know. Um, and it got really bad following the accident that I was involved in. Um, with
Okay.
my friends, it got way worse, and so he dumped me, and here we are. Even though I thought it was going to be forever, but here we are now. So,
Right. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. What do you think triggers that social anxiety?
um, when I think about it, I'm not totally sure. I think a lot of the unknown really makes me nervous. Um, Not knowing what's going to happen or what someone's going to do gives me a lot of stress, which I get it. Everyone has that situation. I mean, I've been dealing with this for years. 12 years ago, I got sent to see a psychiatrist when I was pretty little. But not always trusting people or knowing what they're going to do or say to me. Making sure that I say or do the right thing back gives me a lot of stress. So yeah, I think that that's like one of the main causes for me. So
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. So you mentioned that you stay home a lot and you don't really get out much. You're just at your parents' house, correct?
yeah,
All right. So do you think that maybe I understand that like that is why you are avoiding going out in public in the first place because of that anxiety, but I'm wondering if maybe that anxiety is because you aren't going out and it's getting worse because you haven't been getting out for so long. Do you think that sounds about right?
yeah, I could definitely see, like the less you do something, um, the harder it's gonna be to go out and do it when you start trying again. Like doing this is obviously really hard. I don't know you guys very well, but I think that it's sometimes you got to just take a step and do something and see what's gonna help. But yeah, I think the more time that I have unfortunately spent inside, like it even gets hard sometimes to interact with my parents. Like I find myself feeling really irritable and nervous even around my mom and dad, who I've obviously known forever. Um, I tend to be pretty forgetful. I think forgetting like somebody's name or not being able to focus on a conversation makes me pretty nervous and stressed out. But I think a lot of those things, you're right, that they are routine. The more you practice them, the better you get at them. So I think that definitely the more time I have sat in my room is, excuse me, not been very beneficial.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's gotten worse because of the accident you mentioned. Would you mind going over what happened? And yeah.
Yeah. So what happened is that I was going on a drive with my friends up the canyon. We loved going for drives up the canyon, spending time together, just hanging out. And it was on a Sunday. I wasn't driving. I was in the back seat. And all of a sudden, a car was coming the other direction, veered into our lane, and hit us head on, a direct impact. And they were going really fast. I noticed that. It's one of the few things I really remember about that, is just being like, holy cow, they're going so fast. And then boom, being totally hit. Um, I woke up. Um, and my friends weren't really responding. And then I remember kind of blacking out, and then come to find out that one of my best friends who was driving died in the accident. One of my other really good friends who was in the front passenger seat is now permanently paralyzed. Um, and of course, I got knocked out, but the only thing that really happened is I had a couple broken ribs, but I really walked away fine, and they're gone and paralyzed. And that is something that really bothers me every day because they're such good people. They didn't deserve to die, and there they are. And here's me, and I'm not contributing to society, so why am I still around? That's I live with a weight of worthlessness from that. I mean, these were my friends for 15 years, friends from high school that I've known forever, who I loved dearly, um, and they're gone now, or he's gone, and the one's paralyzed. So that was the accident that I brought up.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
that's really rough.
Mhm.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. Um, and I think you're very, it's unfortunate, but it's normal that you're feeling kind of some of these things. Um, have you noticed since the accident, um, what has that affected a lot of other things in your daily life? Your work, relationships. I know you're not working right now, but um, how has it affected your daily life, if at all?
Yeah, I think that it made a huge difference. So I got fired from my job that had the accident, and then about 2 months later, I was fired. I missed a lot of days of work because I wasn't sleeping well. I would get 9 to 12 hours of sleep, day and night, but I was often waking up waking up in a shock of cold sweat after dreaming about the accident. And I just never wanted to get out of bed. I felt guilty. Maybe I should have been driving. Maybe I could have done something to prevent it. Um, I really have had a difficulty of trying to eat anything since being fired. I'm never hungry. I don't want to eat. My mom basically forces me to eat every day. Um, and obviously, of course, then my boyfriend broke up with me. And then I don't have any close friends except for the dead and paralyzed ones. So, um, unfortunately, my ex and I had the same friend group, and when he dumped me, I lost all my friends. So I don't have any friends. I can't sleep very well. I mean, I'm getting sleep, but it's not good sleep. and I'm not eating. And then, of course, I don't really have anybody in my life right now. So,
Okay. Um, it almost feels like there's maybe a sense of guilt. Is that correct? Is that an accurate way to describe that?
yeah, I definitely feel guilty. I feel
Okay.
like, yeah,
Okay. Do you wish that things um maybe were different regarding the
yeah,
accident?
yeah. I mean, do I wish that I was, that I was dead instead? I don't know. That's kind of difficult. Like, I don't want to die. And I felt like there were times when I was younger that, wanting to die a couple of times, but I never did anything about it. And I'm depressed right now, but I definitely don't want to like off myself. Like I don't feel like I'm at that point by any means. I definitely wish things had been different.
Okay. Got it. Well, thank you for sharing all that with us. And that's yeah, that's a lot, and we totally understand that. But like I said before, that's why we're here, to help you get through those things, and to we have a lot of different suggestions and resources that we can offer, to kind of help you continue to work through that. Um, so there's no thoughts of self-harm or others or anything along those lines, correct?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. That's good. We obviously
Yeah.
want to keep it that way. Um, and you feel safe.
Yeah. I mean, my mom checks on me a lot. She spends a lot of time up here. First, I wouldn't let her in, of course, but I feel safe. So,
That's good. Can you describe maybe your relationships with your family members, both, in the past, if there was anything that happened there, um, with any family members, and even in the present now, how things have affected?
yeah. My mom and I have always been really close. My dad and I have always had a bit of a strained relationship, but it's gotten better over the years, since coming out. I never was neglected or anything like that. Um, I had some issues with a cousin when I was like 6 or 7, um, but nothing ever happened with it. I never told anybody. Um, so like my family relationships they're okay. They're not what they used to be, and obviously I'm not really talking to anybody outside of my mom right now. So
I kind of want to jump in right here. You mentioned that there was something that happened with your cousin when you were younger. If you're comfortable, would you mind just diving in a little bit deeper to what happened with your cousin?
yeah, it almost sometimes it feels like it didn't even happen. Unfortunately, I was touched sexually by him when I was 6 or 7. I don't remember a lot of it. I think I've blocked a lot of it out. But that did happen around that age. I never told my parents or the authorities. I just I didn't want to make a big deal of it. It was just a game. He said we were playing a game, and I didn't even realize what was happening until recently. Honestly, that what happened wasn't okay. Just laying in bed and analyzing my life. But yeah, I've never. I mean, I've always felt like he's a good guy still. Like we see each other sometimes at family parties. I don't really talk to him about it. I think I still feel a little uncomfortable around him, but nothing ever came of it. So
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it's not easy to let yourself acknowledge what has happened to you, especially as far as sexual assault goes. So, thank you for feeling comfortable enough to share that with us. Um, as far as like with that experience, do you feel like it's affected your later in life relationships, like with your ex-boyfriend? Do you feel like that had any effect on that relationship?
Big time. Yeah, I feel like I was very, very closed off. Um, you know, when we first got together, it, you know, it was kind of like a fast and slow situation. Like I was very slow to open up, but then of course once I did, because I allowed myself to be a little vulnerable with him working with me. We lived together, and that's why I was so excited to get married, and I was very open about my relationship or my feelings in our relationship, because I just wanted him to know what I was feeling and what I was thinking. I think I ended up kind of oversharing because I kept so many things that happened to me growing up in. Um, and so I probably felt like I was always complaining about what was going on or how I was feeling or what I was thinking. Um, so I'm sure that that was a trigger for him dumping me. I just felt like he was always married to Negative Nancy over here, but yeah, I feel like that played a big part in it.
That definitely makes sense. I mean, it's not uncommon for people who have experienced sexual assault to have moments of one trauma blocking. So you kind of mentioned that you don't really remember a lot of it. One, because you were so young when it happened, it makes sense that you don't remember a lot of it. And two, trauma blocking is when something horrible happens to you, something very traumatic, your brain kind of just blocks it out. You just don't let yourself remember it. And so, I mean, I think it's a really positive step that you felt comfortable enough to share with your ex-boyfriend and open up to him. I think that shows a lot of growth and healing on your part. And I think that takes a lot of guts to do that, especially with your past experiences. Um, so I don't think anything is your fault, like you being a negative Nancy is why he dumped you. I just think you're just on your journey of healing and you just need to do what you need to do. Um, with not sharing your experience with many people, do you feel like if you got to the point where you could talk to your parents about what happened to you, that would help you heal even further?
It might. I don't know. I feel like I felt for a long time that nobody would believe me. He was the perfect cousin. He was high school football star. Got a great college scholarship. Everybody really loved him. So I feel like a lot of the reason I didn't tell anybody is because I didn't think anyone would believe me. I I struggle knowing right now if my parents would believe me. I'm worried that they'd think, oh, you're just creating these situations that happened because of what's happened to you recently. I feel like maybe someday I'll open up about it, maybe to my mom. And maybe that would bring a little bit of closure to it, which I would really appreciate. But I don't know. I think that's something that we'll have to see with time.
Yeah, there's definitely no push, no rush to get you to share your story with anybody. But I do want to let you know that we believe you and we trust that what you're saying happened to you. And with time, I believe that you can grow to share your experience, even if other people don't believe you. As far as relationships go, what do you feel is the part that needs the most work on? So, like, do you feel like trusting other people because of your past trauma, maybe miscommunications or tools on how to regulate your emotions? Do you feel like there's a specific area of relationships that you would want to work on?
Yeah, I think, you know, the communication aspect of relationships is something I really need to work on. I need to work on my communication in general. Um, I think that learning how to not overshare, but still be open to sharing, because I don't, I went from one extreme to the other, back to the other of not sharing to sharing to now being where I am now. I think that would be a huge help. Who doesn't need help learning how to communicate better, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that and trusting us with that information. There are a lot of groups that are put in place to help people and adults who have suffered traumas in the past, whether that's sexual abuse, sexual assault, incidents like that. And if you ever feel like you want to join one of those groups, and just talk to other people who share that same experience, because a lot of times you can find some comfort in knowing that you're not alone. And even though something horrible happened to you, that's not who you are. So if you ever do want to join like some sort of group like that and further your progress towards healing outside of these therapy sessions, I have some recommendations and resources that I can put you in touch with to get into those groups.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Of course.
Um, I think we each have, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit. We all have a resource that we want to give you so we can kind of get you started on, a couple of those things. Obviously, we'll continue to meet so we can help you get, the best care and learn how to, um, cope with all these different things and just overall get to a better frame of mind. So we're each going to kind of give our resources and explain a little bit and any other suggestions that we have to kind of get you started. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Nicole, do you want to share yours with him first?
Yeah, so there in Utah we have the Healthy Minds Utah, which is a free behavioral health questionnaire that you can take if that appeals to you. Just since you don't really have a job right now, and it is free, like it wouldn't be bad to look into that. Um, and there's also this play or this resource called NAMI Utah, and that offers free support group programs as well. And I can give you all this information, but I believe you can take a couple for free, and either in a group setting, but if that makes you anxious, you could just do a one-on-one session, and then maybe you could build up to a group setting. But I do recommend the group therapy session because you will be able to be with people that have been in the same place as you, not necessarily the same, but similar experiences that you have been through, that might be able to help you progress. So yeah, and I also just suggest that maybe you can just go outside of your house and just walk around the block. Um, that might help you just clear your mind about your anxieties that you have, the past traumas that you've had with the accident and your friends. Um, and you might be seeing other people, but you're not really making interactions with them. So it's just taking those baby steps of being out again. So if that interests you at all.
Yeah, for sure. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Sydney, do you want to go ahead and share yours next?
Yes, I can. I kind of briefly mentioned just a little bit about those groups. One specific group here in Utah is called Healing After Pain, and it's an adult support group. And this one I think would be really beneficial to you because it is online based. So you just have to get on your computer or your phone and you can get into this group. And I think this would help you a lot because of your social anxiety. So if you're having one of those bad days where you just feel like you really can't get out of the house, you've tried to go for a walk and you try to do certain things, but your anxiety is just too much. I feel like it'd be really nice to be able to just get on your computer and just get into a support group just from the comfort of your own home. So that I feel like would be really, really beneficial to you, and I can send you that. And then suggestions I have for you, I feel like these are kind of all over the place, but because healing and progressing is not just a linear path, you're going to move forward some days, and then you're going to jump back 3 steps the next day, and then maybe back again, and then forward. So one thing that I think might help you is guided meditation or just meditation in general. I think letting yourself have that space to one, acknowledge the traumas that you have because you have experienced some really painful traumas in your life, and letting yourself accept that just to start off, I think is really important for you to do, and not suppressing it back and undoing those trauma blocks. And then after you're able to let yourself open up to it, then you can start to progress further and further. And then another suggestion I have is, on the other hand, if you feel like you're just too consumed with your thoughts and you can't get away from them and you just feel like they're just eating at you, I think just trying to shut your mind off for just a little bit, just an hour or two, just to let yourself breathe. So just doing something, you could watch a movie with your mom or go on a walk or draw, anything that can just get your mind off of it for just a little bit to let yourself just breathe, I think would really help you.
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
And then I'll share mine. This one is called the Utah Trauma Resiliency Collaborative. They're based in Salt Lake, so not too far from where you are. They meet in the early evening of the third Tuesday of the odd months. So it's not very often, which I think is helpful for someone who maybe struggles with, social anxiety like you do. And basically, it's just a support group to kind of talk about any and all trauma that you may have. We know that you had that issue with your cousin when you were a little kid, and that may be a little bit of a suppressed trauma. But we also have the very recent car accident that was a very traumatic experience, especially losing a friend and maybe feeling a little guilty that um, these awful things happened to them and your injuries were a little more minor, at least comparative, not to minimize anything that you said, obviously. But in this, it's called the TRC is their little abbreviation. In the TRC, they can talk about those things, and I think it's just a good place to express emotions, and talk about what you've been feeling and how to find different coping mechanisms to get over that. I would also suggest that, maybe gradually exposing yourself to um, reminders of the accident and of the other trauma that you've had in your life, because unfortunately for everyone, it's not really going to go away. These things that have happened to you are going to stay with you, and it's not going to do anyone any good to suppress it all the time. So if you can gradually kind of, with the guidance of us as your therapists, expose yourself to reminders of, the accident or the other trauma in a controlled manner, it can help reduce, negative behaviors and kind of help prepare you for potential triggers. It also could be helpful to create some kind of a memorial or a ritual that is meaningful to honor the memory of your friends, especially the one who had passed away. And again, we can totally walk you through something like that, help create one for you. But the overall suggestion for everything that we've talked about, I think, would just be to focus on the present. There's not a whole lot we can do immediately, but over time, I think you're going to see a lot of improvement and overall just feeling better about yourself. You're going to feel good enough to get out of the house a little bit more often, to go find a job that you're passionate about and that you enjoy, and find and create more relationships with new friends and significant others. And we, more than anything, are just really excited to be able to help you get back on your feet and get to where you need to be.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I look forward to getting there for sure.
Yeah, so this is going to be the end of this session, but we really appreciate you coming in and talking to us. It can be really hard to open up about these things. You've gone through so much, and we just thank you for opening up and feeling comfortable enough to talk to us, and being so vulnerable. So yeah, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. We will send you over these resources, and we look forward to meeting with you again.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Dylan. We'll see you later. Russell.